Hey guys, it is Mo from Mo in the Deep End, and we are getting more information about the suspect in the Gilgo Beach serial killing case. And here is an article with a timeline. So I thought this would be a good way to maybe kind of do testing the waters and kind of getting a little bit of a feeling for this very big case. So, a suspect was charged in the Gilgo Beach serial killings cold case. Here's a timeline of the case and the investigation. I am going to look up tomorrow the probable cause affidavit and we will go over that. It will probably be, I don't know if I'm going to do a stream or just a video. It'll depend. If you guys want a stream or video, put it down in the comments. I will listen to you. Okay, from CNN. So, you know, if you trust CNN, but we're going to trust them today. For more than a decade, a string of unsolved killings known as the Gilgo Beach murders terrorized residents and confounded authorities on Long Island's South Shore after a woman's 2010 disappearance led investigators to find at least 10 sets of human remains and launched a hunt for a possible serial killer. Authorities announced a major breakthrough in the case on Friday, charging New York architect Rex Heuermann, 59, with murder in connection to killings of 3 of the 4 women who became known as the Gilgo Four. The suspect was taken into custody Thursday night, authorities said. He has been indicted on 1 count of first-degree murder and 1 count of second-degree murder in each of the 3 killings. Melissa Bartholomei in 2009, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello in 2010, according to the Suffolk County District Attorney. Heuermann, who told his attorney he is not the killer, is also a prime suspect in the 2007 disappearance and death of a 4th woman, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, according to a bail application from prosecutors. He has not been charged in that homicide, but the investigation is expected to be resolved soon. The documents say. Authorities said once Hierman was identified in early 2020 as a suspect, they watched him and his family getting DNA samples from items in their trash as they built a case. Y'all, I'm just saying, watch your trash pickup. If there starts to be random people picking them up, get to know your trash man if you're gonna be a serial killer, okay? He was remanded without bail Friday, and he entered a not guilty plea through his attorney. His next court date is scheduled for August the 1st. I will put that on my handy dandy notepad and try to, live stream that. But after that, I'm getting ready to go on another, vacation with my mother, so it will be a girls' trip. So I'll be out. I might show where we're going. I mean, although Farrell will already know. 2010, authorities find the first remains in Gilgo Beach murders. Police discover the first set of female remains in bushes along an isolated strip of waterfront property on Gilgo Beach while searching for another missing woman, Shannon Gilbert, a 23-year-old from New Jersey, Jersey City, New Jersey, who hadn't been seen since May 2010. The remains of Melissa Bartholomei, 24, were the first to be discovered in the case during the search on December 11th, 2010. According to Suffolk County officials, 2 days later, investigators discovered remains of 3 additional victims, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Amber Costello, and Megan Waterman, strewn across the half-mile stretch on Gilgo Beach. The 4 women, who were wrapped in camouflage burlap, worked as escorts who advertised on Craigslist, and they were last seen between July 2007 and September 2010. This is the first article, and God forbid I praise CNN, but this is the first article I've seen that said 24-year-old from Jersey City, New Jersey, you know, other women, and then they put their line of work down. Y'all, okay, CNN, this is rare. This has never happened, but thank you. Thank you for doing that. I think that was very humane of you and very human. 2011, more remains found, including a toddler and her mother. Sorry. Let's see. 2011, more remains found, including a toddler and her mother. On March 29, 2011, the partial skeletal remains of another woman were found several miles east of where the bodies in the Gilgo 4 were discovered. The woman was first known as Jane Doe number 5 before investigators identified her as Jessica Taylor. And CNN, you lost it. Another escort whose partial remains were previously discovered in Maynardville. I Look, John Gary's trying to teach me how to speak, Long Island, okay? So I'm working on it. The following month, on April 4th, 2011, 3 more sets of remains were found on a stretch of Ocean Parkway in Suffolk County near the beach. They included a female toddler, an unidentified Asian male, and a woman initially referred to as Jane Doe number 6, investigators said. 1 week later, 2 additional sets of human remains were found in Nassau County. Look, John, I'm working on it. About 40 miles east of New York City, one of which was identified as the mother of the toddler through DNA analysis. This man couldn't even put this baby's mother next to them after. I mean, he's depraved. He's a serial killer, Mo. What are you're trying to Never mind. I don't know what I was thinking. The mother's partial remains were the first discovered in 1997, officials said. The other sets of remains genetically matched with the remains found in 1996 on Fire Island, significantly expanding the timeline and geographic reach of the investigation, officials said. In December 2011, Gilbert's body was found in wooded marshes of Suffolk County, Oak Beach. The beach is about 9 miles from where the 10 other sets of human remains were found. Authorities later said they believed Gilbert's death may have been accidental and not related to the Gilgo Beach slayings. I mean, this looks like a really cool beach, though. I'm a terrible person. I'm like, but this looks really nice. I'd love to be able to walk along it, maybe not find bodies, but what are you going to do? 2020, police released photos of a key clue and an ID a victim. In January 2020, Suffolk County Police released photos of what it said could be a significant piece of evidence: a black leather belt embossed with the letters WH or HM. The department also launched a website to collect new tips in the investigation. Quote, "We believe the belt was handled by the suspect and did not belong to any of the victims," former Suffolk County Police Commissioner Geraldine Hart told reporters at the time. On May 28th, 2020, the New York Suffolk County Police Department identified Jane Doe number 6 as Valerie Mack, a 24-year-old Philadelphia mother who had been missing 2 decades earlier. The FBI helped identify Mack's remains using advanced forensic DNA technology. Y'all, they done took the ancestry stuff that the companies swore they weren't gonna share. Y'all, don't give your DNA to people for your ancestry. We are all a mix of wonderful spices. You don't really need to know. Using samples from her remains, Suffolk County investigators were able to find Mac's biological relatives through genetic genealogy, which ultimately led to her adoptive family and son, Hart said to reporters at the time. 2022, police form a task force to find the killer. Well, it only took them 2 years. I mean, I'm very proud of him. They worked at the speed of government, so that was blazing. 2022, police form a task force to find the killer. In February 2022, Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison formed a multi-agency task force to investigate the Gilgo Beach killings. The task force included the Suffolk County Police Department, the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office, the New York State Police, and the FBI. On March 14th, 2022, Huerman was first mentioned as a possible suspect in the Beach murder case after New York State investigator identified him in a database, according to Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney. Now, hopefully, Ray Tierney out to be rabid Diet Coke drinker from the Theodore Edgecombe case and not Gravely from the Zachariah Anderson case. 2023, Rex Heuermann arrested in some of the killings. On July 13th, 2023, a suspect connected to some of the Gilgo Beach murders was taken into custody in New York City, marking the first arrest in the case, according to Harrison. He was transported back to Suffolk County Police Headquarters in the hamlet of Yaphank. Look, John Gary, I'm gonna need that Yaphank. Yeah, I'm going to need a lesson on that. Long Island. The police commissioner said, a day later, authorities identified the suspect as Huerman, a registered architect who has owned the New York City-based architecture and consulting firm RH Consultants and Associates since 1994, according to his company's website. The case against Huemering came together over 2 years with the restart of the investigation in which the investigators used, quote, "the power of the grand jury," including more than 300 subpoenas, search warrants to collect evidence and tie Huerman conclusively to the murders, Tierney said during a news conference. The authorities have hinted to more charges coming and noted in court documents that Huerman has been tied to at least one other disappearance, that of Brainerd Barnes, of a woman who was later found dead. So let's see if we can find anything else. Reindeer sent me something, so let me end this and we will see. We will read hers and I will hopefully get you up to date as much as I can. And then I will be posting, once I find it, I will be putting up the probable cause thing. Please tell me if you would rather have a stream or a video because I like to do both and I can. So either way, let me know. All right, so here's another one, and then we will probably be done for the day. I will get this out. Long Island serial killer suspects Rex Heuermann, 59, pleads not guilty to 6 counts of murder after sobbing to his lawyer, "I didn't do this," as prosecutors reveal bombshell DNA and cell phone evidence against the 6'6" suspect. Sir, you are one of the rare tall men, and you had to go to the dark side? I know it's a weird thing that I shouldn't. Never mind. All right. Long Island serial killer suspect Rex Heuermann left his wife's hair on 3 of the prostitutes' ma'ams and sirs. Who is this? For shame. Daily Mail. Victims. They were victims first. They were people first. They were their daughters and sisters and mothers. And I will look, y'all will probably get tired of me saying this every time, but I will say it every time because doggone it, if say my daughter, say your daughter, say I do not want one mother or one sister or one child to read this and have to deal with that pain because they were a person first. I don't care. Well, okay, Daryl Brooks is not a person, but in this case, look, did they make choices that I would? Probably not, but they're still people and they still have families, y'all. Just I don't get it. I'm just gonna start changing these to victim when I see that. So if that's gonna offend and bother you, this is the wrong channel, y'all. I will get on my soapbox for this one. Let's see. Heuermann, 59, was dramatically arrested last night in Midtown Manhattan outside of his architectural office on Fifth Avenue, 13 years after the bodies were found. There are growing questions over why it took investigators so long to set their sights on him. Police say it was a new DA forming the task force last year that finally cracked it. I don't want to see Joe Biden creepily kiss someone's baby. Huerman is suspected in the murders of the Gilgo Beach 4, 4 victims who rem whose remains were found on Long Island Beach in December 2010. Today, the 6'6" suspect was charged with the murders of Melissa Bartholomew, Amber Costello, and Megan Waterman. During an initial court appearance, he appeared smug, puffing his cheeks out and nodding as some of the charges were read. He pleaded not guilty to all 6 charges, 3 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of second-degree murder. After hear After the hearing, his court said he cried to him, "I did not do this." That is one tall giant man. I mean, honestly, just hypothetically, allegedly, let's say he is the unaliver. I mean, that man could do some damage. Also, haircuts, sir. Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney told the court his team intended to follow Huerman, who they'd been watching since last year for longer, but feared he was about to flee the country. Later at a press conference, he and other law enforcement office officials said he continued to patronize women of payable pleasure. Quote, "This obviously made us nervous," said Tierney. Quote, "We had the FBI surveilling the defendant, this individual that continued to patronize night workers at all hours of the night, continued to use fictitious identities, burner phones. As we worked through the case and got closer and closer, suddenly the balance tipped in the favor of public safety." End quote. Quote, "We wanted to continue, but we felt it was time to take him off the street." He has been named as the prime suspect in the murder of Maureen Boehner Barnes and is also being investigated for the murders of another 6 women found dead near the beach in 2011. Ahead of his appearance, prosecutors released their bombshell evidence against him that includes his wife's DNA being found on 3 of the victims' bodies. One of his own hairs was found on one of the victims' body. Cell phone calls made from a burner phone to the victims were traced to his office. A call made to one of the victim's sisters after she died was traced to his office. His Tinder profile with photos of him was linked to the burner phone. Lady, swipe right or swipe left? Like, tallness, does it kind of overdo the weird haircut and the possible serial killer vibes? I don't know. His Chevrolet pickup truck was seen by witnesses to one of the victims' disappearance. He matches the description of an ogre-like man seen with one of the victims before she vanished. Huerman conducted graphic searches for CP, images of women being sexually abused. He also searched Google for updates on the case, searching why would law enforcement not trace calls made by the Long Island killer. Evidence was laid out in a 32-page letter by the Suffolk County DA's office explaining why he shouldn't be granted bail. It details how a new task force set up by Suffolk County DA last year came across his name within months of the investigation, prompting questions about why previous investigative units failed to nail him. Huerman's first link to the case is through the Chevrolet Avalanche truck that he owned in 2009 and 2010 when the women were murdered. The vehicle was seen at homes of at least one of the victims the day before she went missing. Huerman also matches the description of an ogre, which I can see, like man, that visited one of the victims the night before she died. In that case, he said to have arranged a meeting with Amber Costello for nighttime activities at her house. Costello and a male friend conducted a ruse whereby the male friend pretended to interrupt their hookup, claiming he was an angry boyfriend. The man who'd paid for the activity was forced to leave with his money on the table. Oh my, that is a Tinder nope file. I don't know, sir. There's someone for everyone, but you are married and blech. y'all, I don't know if he's better or worse with his hair. Yeah, that's a haircut that says, "I can't be close to schools." I'm just kidding, y'all, I don't know. So this is apparently okay, sorry. There are little captions. I will go back and read and not make y'all seasick. Okay, so here's the first picture. Rex Heuermann is shown in one of his Tinder profile pictures. Police tracked fictitious email account he used on the profile and his burner phone number to the case. Good lord, I don't even know how to make a burner phone. Heuermann in another photo he uses on a dating app. He's said to have sent these photos to women asking for hookups. In January this year, after watching Heuermann and his family since last March, the detectives in the case seized a pizza box he had thrown in the trash outside his Manhattan office. Well, see, he put his trash in the can, and that's special. Okay, and these are some of the searches conducted on Heuermann's computer. One, why could law enforcement not trace the calls made by the Long Island serial killer? Why hasn't the Long Island serial killer been caught? Long Island serial killer. Long Island serial killer phone call. Long Island serial killer update. Y'all don't ever let them look at my search history. Us true crimers need to have, like, a written dissertation from a lawyer, like, "Look, she looks up weird stuff." She is a YouTuber. I mean, she's semi-professional. That's it, I'm having David write one up for me. Long Island serial killer update 2012 or 2022, FBI active serial killers. Serial killers by state 2023. Map of all known serial killers. Unsolved serial killer cases. America's 5 most notorious old cases. 11 currently active serial killers. 8 terrifying active serial killers that we can't find. John Bertolf, Megan Waterman, Melissa Bartholomew, Maureen Brainer Barnes, redacted name of relative, Melissa Bartholomew, redacted name of relative Megan Waterman. Cops launch Gilgo Beach Homicide Investigation Task Force. Mapping the Long Island murder victims. Inside the Long Island serial killer and Gilgo Beach. I wonder if you watched, that chapter. This is a weird thing, but I'm sure he saw Mike and he was just like, "He's so sweet," because that's what I think. The Gilgo Beach Killer Criminal Minds. In Long Island serial killer investigation, new phone technology may be the key to break the case. Oh, and more searches. So these apparently were on his computer, and these were also on his computer. I'm not gonna read all of them because 'cause I'll just say stupid, gross crap. Mistress Long Island, mature escorts in Manhattan, um, gross, disgusting, terrible things from 3 to let's see here. Yeah, you know what? None of the rest of them are am I gonna read, but, sir, you better you better hope that, Jesus comes to visit you in prison because you got lots of splaining to do, and I believe you're gonna get the Jesus that was flipping table and whipping people, okay? I don't think you're gonna get the peace and love Jesus, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. No, none of these are the sick Google searches conducted on Herman's computer. This is him, buying additional minutes for another burner phone he paid cash. Afterwards, he texted Costello saying that wasn't very nice and demanding a credit on his next service. Costello met with the customer again the following night, but she insisted on doing so away from her home. The witness said the customer was between 6'4" and 6'6", with a broad frame and glasses. He lived nearby in Massapequa Park, where he still resides with his family, but his Icelandic wife was out of town when the murders occurred. In addition to the car matching the vehicle seen in the victim's house, police were able to trace phone calls made from a burner phone to the victims to set up rendezvous to the areas surrounding his home and his Manhattan office. Another call was made to one of the victim's relatives after she vanished. That call was traced to his office. He also used fictitious email accounts and more burner phone numbers for a Tinder profile, which he posted photos of himself years later. In addition to hard evidence linking him to the specific murders, Heuermann conducted al- Heuermann conducted also conducting incriminating internet searches. Maybe an editor, possibly. Among them were search terms like he conducted heinous Google searches for CP and violent um, SA sort of stuff. Y'all can go back in the video and pause if you really wanna know, or I'm sure the internets has all the Webernets has all this stuff. In January of this year, after watching Heuermann and his family since last March, the detectives in the case seized a pizza box he had thrown in the trash outside his Manhattan office. His DNA from one of the crust was 99.6% matched to the male hair found on the bottom of a burlap sack one of the victims was found in. Prosecutors also discovered unidentified female hairs on three of the victims. They initially traced Heuermann to the case by matching the description of his Chevrolet truck to the vehicle he owned at the time of the murders. The car was last seen at the home of Amber Costello, one of the victims who vanished on September 2nd, 2010. So this is, I guess, his house? I mean, I'm not trying to be a booger face or anything, but wouldn't a pretty well-off architect in New York have a better house? Or am I being confused? I mean, I'm sure everything in Long Island and New York is super expensive. I don't know, I guess I imagined something different. Heuermann's truck was removed from the home this afternoon. Representatives from the Office of the Medical Examiner of New York exit the office building of Rex Heuermann. Okay, well, New York has very nice criminal investigators. There's a butt shot for sale. Chilling similarities can be drawn between Heuermann, a married father of two, and the killer described in the 2011 FBI profile of the Gilgo Beach killer. The profile described a sadistic but charming average Joe who could blend into any environment unnoticed. Heuermann lived a seemingly normal average Joe life until yesterday. Profilers told the New York Times that the suspect was likely financially stable and bright. He may have sought treatment in the hospital for a poison ivy infection. As part of his job or interest, he has access to or a stockpile of burlap sacks. The profile read, he grew up in Massapequa Park, attending high school with Billy Baldwin well, if he was with a Baldwin brother, I mean, and started work in Manhattan in 1987. Heuermann was married once in 1990, yeah, 1990, and again years later to his current wife, Asa Elrup, who is of Icelandic descent. He and Asa have an adult daughter, Victoria, who works with Heuermann at his architectural firm, and a stepson, Asa's son from a previous marriage. Part of his job was to negotiate between the City of New York's Department of Building and private architects. In a 2022 video, Herman boasted about his architectural career working with the New York City's Department of Buildings. Quote, I was born and raised on Long Island and have been working in Manhattan since 1987, a very long time, end quote, he told Bonjour Realty, sorry. So this is where the suspect's house is, and it's directly across from Oyster Bay. So, yeah, he had definitely had opportunity Forensics teams working at the Heuermann's house on Friday, a freezer was among the items seized. Again, y'all, I'm just asking for a friend. I mean, I would think that an architect would have a super cool house. I don't know. Like I said, I'm sure the amount that Mr. Mo and I spent on this house would get a Cracker Jack box in New York. So the residents around, because we got to have looky loos. Cherie Gilbert, the sister of Shannon Gilbert, one of the victims, told NBC News she was relieved an arrest had been made. Quote, "I'm overwhelmed but relieved that they have finally caught him." Quote, "It's been a long time coming and I never gave hope that one day justice would be served." Quote, "The suspect deserves to rot in prison for the rest of his life. He destroyed many lives. So while it won't bring our loved ones back, it does help that one less monster is off the street and he can't ever hurt anyone else." End quote. Herman runs a small architectural firm in the city. On the company's website, he claims to have worked on projects including JFK Airport, projects for American Airlines, and for some Catholic charities. Yeah, that hair is not a good look. And yeah, you know what? If you have a paunch, maybe not the best. I don't know if I think it is attracting attention to the paunch. And these are the victims. I don't care what they were doing at the time, they are still victims, and hopefully my coverage of this case and watching the court, I'm a little irreverent, but I do wanna honor them. These are, women that had a life and had everything they were supposed to have. You know, they should have had the opportunity, regardless of what their life choices were, to continue their lives. These are also more of the victims. So I believe Valerie Mack and Jessica Taylor. This is Shannon Gilbert. So I believe she is one of the very first victims that we know about. She's the one that we got the 911 call. And this is a really helpful. Let me see if I am going to email this to myself, I believe. Maybe. I have no idea if that worked. All right. Well, we'll figure out. I can find the article. It's not a big deal. John Ray, an attorney representing the family of two victims, told dailymail.com they were given a warning a week ago that an arrest was imminent. Quote, "We had a tip about a week ago that they were about to do this. We have two names, but obviously we don't want to say unless we're 100% sure." End quote. He confirmed to Daily Mail that Heuermann's name was among those they were looking into. Ray believes the discovery of a man's remains may have prompted the arrest today. Ray said that while the suspect arrested today is a man, he and his clients have always had an outside theory that a woman may be involved. No one has ever been arrested in connection with the killings. Okay, we're not going to dox his daughter. And I believe that's his first wife? The decade-long investigation has been described as one of the most intense, prolific hunts for a serial killer. In 2020, a true crime podcast cast suspicion on a former Suffolk County Police Commissioner, James Burke. Burke, who spent time in jail for assaulting a local man while in office, was the top cop from 2011 to 2015. Among the victims was Shannon Gilbert, who was found dead in a swamp in Oak Beach in 2011, about a quarter mile from where she was last seen alive. The 24-year-old's neck had been broken before she was unalived and had a puncture hole in it that could have been caused by a drill, according to her family's attorney. The first victims were discovered in December 2010. They were Maureen Baynard Burns, 24 or 25, Melissa Bartholomew, 24, Megan Waterman, 22, Amber Costello, 27. Known as the Gilgo Beach Four, their bodies were found wrapped in burlap sacks. Some of the four had been missing for 3 years by the time their bodies were found. They were all ladies of the night who utilized Craigslist, leading the police to believe that that is how the killer made first contact with them. Some had also told friends that they planned to meet a client the day before they vanished. In March and April 2011, another 4 bodies were found in the same area, including that of a toddler. They were Jessica Taylor, Valerie Mack, and an unidentified woman known as Peaches or Jane Doe. Peaches' toddler daughter was also murdered. This guy's such a dirtbag. If it's him, allegedly. In the following weeks, another 2 sets of remains were found. One belonged to an Asian man now thought to have been a transgender sex worker who had been dead for 5 to 6 years, and Jane Doe number 7, whose remains were found on a beach in a popular tourist town, Fire Island. I mean, why do you have to go and do this to a beautiful beach? I wanna go walk along that and possibly see Snooki. I think that's the end of that, unless you all wanna know how you can revitalize your tan body with, what snake oil. So that is the update. I will be looking out for the probable cause affidavit, and I will hope to see you guys soon, and just for you guys, let's see, we have lovely, lovely cat picture, because after we had to hear about all that terrifying stuff in his Google searches, like I said, he needs to meet Jesus, but I think he's gonna meet the table flipping, like, whip wielding kinda Jesus and not the peace and love Jesus at first. I will see you all later. Like and subscribe. And I do have other videos. I will try to be cleaning things up and putting them in playlists so you guys can kind of easily go through like cases. But I'm kind of on the fly and I tend to not think logically until I think logically. So I will see you. The only way out is through. So if you're having a bad day, we will get through this. Watch one of my videos, watch a funny video, but we will get through this. Have a great day and see y'all later.